Namaste. Welcome to the conference on Hinduism and modern psychology. This is part of our series of conferences on various topics. The most recent conference was on Hindu aesthetics, and we are going to have another conference related to aesthetics itself. Uh, we are going to have a conference on Hindu art, architecture, and artisans after this conference. This is just to show you how we actually take up topics of different interest, different focus areas. Indic Academy is, we call it a non-traditional university for traditional studies. It is a university that runs almost virtually all the time. We conduct conferences, workshops, we encourage fellowships, guided book research, publications. We publish books of value for Indic orientation. We have three uh, words that we use: preservation, under which we preserve traditional knowledge, and protection, under which we counter the attacks on our tradition; promotion, through which we want to propagate the existing knowledge among the present generation and cater it to the society, disseminate the knowledge, and encourage people to become cultural entrepreneurs and take forward our culture among the public. And as part of that, we have many different units and platforms through which we work. For example, we have Center for Soft Power, we have Indica Yoga. We recently started a Indica Yoga textual research wing, and recently we also started an Indica Classical Library, uh, from which we want to publish translations of important Sanskrit and other classical works from India. And we have an Indica courses platform through which we cater online courses on different topics of Indic interest. And if you visit our website, Indic Academy website, you would know how much area is being covered and how many different activities are being taken up by us. We have taken up this particular conference, Hinduism and Modern Psychology Conference, particularly at a time when, fortunately, mainstream university courses on psychology are picking up in India. I'm happy and proud to share with you that we, when we started at Pune as part of MIT ADP University, uh, a school called MIT School of Vedic Sciences, MIT SPS. And as part of that, as the first course there, we started a course on what is called as integral psychology. And that course was designed to have three streams. As usual, as in India, it happens, three majors are provided in the undergraduate course with two language courses. So for two language courses, we wanted to have English and Sanskrit. And for the subject field discipline courses, we uh, had Vedic psychology as one of the streams, modern psychology, and sociology with a Vedic component of 30% as another stream. And at that time, when we started this course, we were almost the pioneers in starting such a course. By that time, we knew that there was a website which was almost dormant, but the resources on that website were all active. That was called Indian Psychology website, and it was called Indian Psychology Institute also, ISI. And that was actually a result of work of great pioneers like Professor Anand Paranjape and others. And there was a lot of Sri Aurobindo inspired consciousness studies component in that website and in that activity. What we did while starting the course on Vedic psychology at MIT School of Vedic Sciences is we added many other components that were not added earlier. For example, we included Ayurveda and the mind wellness component. And we added a course on Sankhya. Vedanta we added, but as you know, it was always Vedanta that was discussed in the name of consciousness studies. Vedanta was already being studied. So we did not remove that, we included Vedanta. And we took another care while introducing Vedanta. What we did was we wanted to make Vedanta a non-sectarian Vedanta. So when we introduced Vedanta, we did not want it to be either Advaita Vedanta or Dvaita Vedanta or Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. Vedanta per se is introduced, and then the student is made aware of these divisions, schools of thought like Dvaita, Advaita, and Vishishtadvaita, and the psychological import from those various schools is also introduced. Prasthanatraya is introduced. And then we added the yoga. This is also one of the old components of Hindu psychology that is being incorporated everywhere in the discussions on Hinduism and modern psychology. Yoga was always there. Actually, in fact, we told the parents coming for admissions that yoga is already being used for psychology teaching as part of psychology practice and teaching both. But what we do is give a more authentic teaching on yoga. And we added components like psychology of language, which covers mostly Vakyapadiyam and cognitive linguistic psychology from Vakyapadiyam. And we included psychology of aesthetics, which is, for example, psychology of rasa, psychology of emotions as part of rasa, and all that aesthetics related psychology. For example, aesthetic disability in some people. For example, if someone is not able to get rasa in a movie, if somebody is not able to get emotional ecstasy while watching a Hollywood movie in an American movie hall. Why? Others are able to get that ecstasy. This man is not able to get that ecstasy. Abhinava Gupta gives reasons for that. Abhinava Gupta gives 7 reasons for why someone doesn't get ecstasy, rasa ecstasy. So all such components have been included, aesthetics related psychology, and we included psychology from literature. Actually, literature, the authors of literary works bring out their psychological observations through literature. And not just written literature, even folk tales and fairy tales have been studied from the point of view of psychology. For example, Jung uses the word psychological literature and visionary literature, and archetypal study is a well-known method of study of literature. So we included that. And we included particularly the Itihasas and Puranas. How Itihasas and Puranas are a treasure of psychological study that was included. So this is a more comprehensive course on Hindu sources, Vedic sources of psychology, and we recently started a postgraduate course also based on the undergraduate course so that our students continue to postgraduate courses. And then we saw that Chinmaya University at Cochin also started courses on psychology, though they call it just a course on general psychology itself, but it is as is expected from a university like Chinmaya. It is also a Vedic psychology course. It is also a Hinduism based psychology course. Next to that was Sri Sri University, uh, which came up in Bhubaneswar. As you can expect from the name, it is a university based on Art of Living organization. Uh, and they actually called their course Contemplative and Behavioral Sciences. They use the different word, contemplative and behavioral studies. So this word contemplative was mostly being used in some American universities to focus on meditation, for example. So if there is a focus on meditation, they call it contemplative. Um, or probably they were also thinking of introspective methodology also as contemplative approach. So this contemplative and behavioral studies course also, it incorporated components from our course, MIT SPS course and Chinmaya course, and other components, and they incorporated their own innovative topics. Gradually, this is picking up like this. And gradually, the word Vedic psychology itself became popular. People started quoting, naming their speciality as part of their curriculum vitae as Vedic psychology. So we were very happy to see that the coinage is getting popularized among people. Now, uh, let us come to the title of the conference, why we wanted to. Earlier, the names were contemplative psychology, Vedic psychology, or Indic psychology, integral psychology, and all that. But this time, our inspiration was a course on Udemy and other places where they called it Buddhism and psychology. Buddhism and psychology can be there, and why not Hinduism and psychology? And that course was actually called as Buddhism and Modern Psychology. So we thought, let us try this phrasing, Hinduism and Modern Psychology, so that there is this hesitation to pair these two words, Hinduism and modern psychology, should go. That is what we did in the earlier conference also. People used to use Indic aesthetic, or Indian aesthetics all the time, avoiding the word Hindu aesthetics deliberately. For example, if they want to use, for example, on Alankara Shastra, if they want to talk, they want to call it Indian aesthetics, Sanskrit aesthetics, everything, but not Hindu aesthetics. And for example, you want to talk about art, and there is a lot of talk on Indian art, Indic art, or something like that. But if you want to call it Hindu art, there is some amount of hesitation in using such words. And architecture, temple architecture is used already, but not Hindu architecture. It is temple architecture is obviously Hindu architecture. But if you want to call it temple architecture, but not Hindu architecture, and you want to talk about artisans, Indian artisans, but not Hindu artisans. So this hesitation on the part of academics to append the word Hindu in front of names of modern disciplines like aesthetics, architecture. Now, for the present conference, psychology. So why not use the word Hinduism and modern psychology? The Hindu psychology would have been a problem because it might give an impression that it is the psychology of the Hindus. It might convey a different meaning that we are going to talk about the psychology of the Hindu population, Hindu people. So we avoided the word Hindu psychology, but we wanted to use the word Hinduism. And then, if you generally leave it without modern, there is every scope of misunderstanding that you are creating your own psychology, whatever psychology you want to create, and you want to call it Hinduism and psychology. So we wanted to clearly communicate that we are trying to connect the modern discipline of psychology and the way modern psychologists deal with mind wellness and mind related issues, solutions for them, both from medical side, psychiatric side, neurological side. Actually, that neurological and psychiatric side of mind wellness, people have a hesitation to see it on the Vedic side or Indic side or Hindu side, but they forget that Ayurveda has a huge mind wellness component. And Ayurveda, the way Ayurveda deals with the mind, and the way Ayurveda deals with neurological issues, and the way Ayurveda deals with connections between mind-related issues and neurological issues, has not received enough attention among the modern students of psychology. Uh, Modern students of psychology remember only Vedanta consciousness studies and yoga when we talk of any traditional components of psychology. But we want to tell that Ayurveda has a huge psychiatric component also in it. Ayurveda treats mind wellness issues medical through medicines. Uh, so it does almost something parallel to what the psychiatry division of modern medical institutes do, medicine courses do. So we wanted to incorporate that also. And again, there is a hesitation to call this part also as Hinduism related. Why not? Why not? Ayurveda is a Hinduism based thinking. Any student of Ayurveda, when he enters the books, he gets all such things which are actually Hindu. And then it is for some reason avoided. No, it should be Ayurveda course, but not a Hinduism based course. So we wanted this conference to be called Hinduism and Modern Psychology for that reason. And we are glad that stalwarts like Professor Dharam Bhavji, and Kundan Singh ji, Ajit Mathur ji, and many other big figures in the field have come forward to present their papers in this conference on very, very interesting and challenging topics, trend setting topics uh, of interest for modern psychology. And we are particularly grateful to Swamini ji, Swamini Swapna Vidyananda ji. Actually, she said she would be one of the paper presenters for the conference. Then we thought, oh no, too much. How can Swaminiji be one of the paper presenters in the conference? Then we said, Swaminiji, actually, your experience and your leadership has to be in the form of guiding us, in the form of blessing us. So we requested her to bless the conference uh, with her blessing remarks and guiding remarks, keynote remarks, so that we get an authentic Hinduism based view of how we can connect Hinduism to modern psychology.